Okay, you people out there that are hungering for the facts and opinions of the Midnight Skeptic, here we go. You are listening to KPCA LP, Petaluma, California, at 103.3 FM and worldwide at www.kpca.fm. And this is the Midnight Skeptic. The views of the Midnight Skeptic are not necessarily the views of KPCA or any of its affiliates. Okay, this is the Midnight Skeptic show number 120, and today is Wednesday, the 10th of May, and this worldwide and on radio will be broadcast on the 14th, Sunday, at the usual times, and at 9 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, midnight, back on the East Coast. Oh, it's so happy to be woke, so happy to be woke, so happy to be woke today. Yes, the Midnight Skeptic is, in fact, unapologetically woke, proudly woke, and is doing his small part, which is this show, to spread wokeness to all corners of the world. And my mission statement is helping in his own small way, again, this show, to rid this country of all GOP MAGA-head Republicans, one broadcast at a time. Send, if you want to communicate, send all hate mail, death threats, and hopefully some constructive suggestions to the midnightskeptic@gmail.com. I'll get it. Okay. And shout-outs. Okay. I'm going to try to get through this okay, but there's some extra little things in my shout-outs this time. Okay. Internationally, I'm on Spotify and Anchor, and I have about a dozen or 15 people who listen in at least occasionally, at least according to Anchor. They send me updates on my audience periodically. One in Puerto Rico, one in Colombia, the rest in the EU, 3 in Canada, 1 in Russia, and Australia, New Zealand, and that's it. Okay. And shout-outs. Robert Tomaszewski, the station manager down at KPCA.FM, 103.3 FM, down at Petaluma Community Access Offices. Okay. Locally, Project Censored's Gang of 3, Mickey Huff, Nolan Higdon, and Andy Lee Roth. Go to projectcensored.org and, sign up for their newsletter. It's really interesting. And if you're able, maybe you can donate a few bucks to their project. It really is worth it in the long run. Okay, John Crowley at Aquas Cafe and the community there that he has sort of created. It's a nice place to have lunch, dinner, and a few beers or wine if you're of that sort. And join in the number of events that he has down there. And Tom Gaffey at the Phoenix Theater and the community of alternative teens that he has sort of encouraged and set up down there. Skateboarders, goths, emos, punks, which were a big thing, 5 or 10 years ago. And now, LGBTQ youth and trans youth that are, for whatever reason, are not accepted by their schools, their parents, their churches, their relatives, their friends, whatever. But they're there and living life as best they can. Locally, Tim, Conrad, Tom and Nancy, Rich and Kathy, Kevin and Lori, Dave and Rosie up in Sacramento, Dennis and Megan down in Tiburon, in San Francisco, Yvonne Santos and Rick, in Pacifica, Stan and Kathy, and Susan the Progressive Miller. Down in L.A., Jackie Kolar and her 2 daughters, Melanie and Samantha. Arizona, Karina, my brother Bran and his wife Mina, their daughter Andrea, who's a nurse. She's my niece, so take care of yourself, Andrea. And her husband Tim, plus 3 little ones. Arkansas, Shannon Reed, Reno, Chanda and Michael. Florida, Amelia, Nelson and Alice. North Carolina, Dr. Dave in the Raleigh-Durham, North Carolina area, the best pulmonary physician in the whole wide world. Up to Long Island, Geraldine Goldfinger, and the Sonora crowd. I was up there for a few days visiting with my high school buddies. And so, Robert and Colleen, Bob and Sandy, plus Brad and Martha. Martha, take care of yourself as well. Darl, Judy, Leo, Lynn Quayle, Kathy Francis, John Gleason, and his 2 daughters, Tiffany and Jennifer, and all the way down to Mexico City, Rosamaria Lopez Negrete. She listens in occasionally. Okay. Greenwashing. Corporations do this a lot. Greenwashing, bad news. I need another sip already. Oh, God. Big Plastics says, heating and treating plastic waste with chemicals enables it to make new plastics. Now, that's a dubious claim. But that process, emitting large amounts of climate warming gases and air pollution, isn't recycling, and it isn't very green. Plastic manufacturers are pushing hard with advertising and lobbying campaigns to gain public acceptance of advanced or chemical recycling. This is the term that's applied to recycling plastics chemically. Advanced recycling. That sounds good, but it has dubious claims associated with it. Okay, where was I? I'm off my notes. Chemical recycling that require new, unproven chemical plants that break down plastic waste with chemicals, heat, or both, turning the waste into feedstocks to be mixed with fossil fuels or mixed and incorporated into new plastic products. This is their version of the circular economy, which is also a very nice sounding green phrase. The EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, tends to view this so-called advanced recycling as just incineration, not recycling, as does the FTC, the Food and some. God, what does this FTC stand for? Brain freeze time. Okay, maybe I wrote this wrong. FDC. Okay, anyway, no matter. Houston-based company called Encina plans to build a chemical plant in Pennsylvania on the Susquehanna River. What could possibly go wrong? It is designed to convert plastic waste into benzene, toluene, and xylene to be used to manufacture new plastic products. Wasn't that what the tank cars were filled with in Palestine, Ohio? Yeah. Well, no pollution from all that? Well, good luck. Susquehanna River. The U.S., our country, has 4.3% of the world's population, but generates 11% of global plastic waste, 486 pounds per capita annually. Plastic recycling has fallen in 2022 to less than 6%, according to this nonprofit outfit, Beyond Plastics, and this other plastic cleanup nonprofit, the Last Beach Cleanup. Okay, I had not heard of them until I read this report, but the FTC's Green Guide, supposedly to help consumers in considering purchases of products with sustainability in mind, there are 7 categories of plastics. You know, on the bottoms of bottles, those little chasing arrows with a number inside. Well, there's 7 possible numbers. Number 1 and number 2 are recyclable. The rest are not. So be careful. Okay, 1 through 7 inside the chasing arrows indicate that the container is recyclable. Often, they're not. Californians Against Waste. Okay, now that's the title of a bill, Senate Bill 343. The chasing arrows are prohibited if the container is not recyclable. I hope that gets passed. It's going through our legislature as we speak. Okay, the Midnight Skeptic, me, is moving more and more toward being an out-and-out socialist. Big business just cannot be trusted to favor the environment over profits. I used to talk or, rant more about environmental issues, but the GOP MAGA-head Republicans have, with their hatred and fear of the LGBTQ community, has taken up more of my ranting time lately. I guess my thousands of listeners out there have noticed this. Putting the word big in front of any industrial category or business category or corporation category makes them the enemy, and almost always rightly so. Big tobacco was the worst of the worst and showed other businesses how to sow uncertainty and confusion and anti-science beliefs in the minds of the public, the American public. They, for a while, succeeded. But now, smoking and use of other tobacco products are down to about 11% of the population. I don't care who I'm insulting by this, but when I see somebody smoking, I think, low class, a loser, probably a MAGA head. All right. Big oil and coal, big fossil fuel, giving big tobacco a run for number one spot on my personal hate list. Their think tanks and lobbying groups are even changing science textbooks in our schools just to sow doubt about the human-caused global warming of CO2 emissions, especially in Texas and Florida, and I think I read something about Idaho also, that big fossil fuel industries are paying lobbyists to change the minds of educational people in these states who are responsible for writing textbooks to just downplay the effects of global warming, the effects of carbon dioxide and methane, and inserting them into science classes. Okay. Please, educators, especially science educators, don't fall for this. Okay. Big pharma. For all the good pharmaceuticals do, and they do good, some good, profits still come first, no matter how addictive some painkillers are. They will keep making and selling them. Hello, Sackler family. And their Purdue Pharma's OxyContin, they had to pay a big settlement, but not before they stashed billions of the Sackler family money over in Swiss banks. Okay, big plastics. I just ranted about them. They care not about rising CO2 levels and air pollution. They will still continue to crank out plastics, and part of the blame for plastic pollution, especially in our oceans, is us. We should make more use of refillable containers and just reuse things as much as we can. All right. Big railroads. And I ranted about them a couple of months ago after all these series of derailments, especially in Palestine, Ohio. And they hire lobbyists to convince mostly Republicans to vote against any bills going through the House of Representatives or the Senate that would increase safety standards. And I've talked about them on those shows. The heat detectors that are inserted on rails, that when cars run over them, they can detect malfunctions in either bearings or brakes or the wheels or any other thing that could catch fire and cause a derailment. Well, those things cost money, and the more closer you put them together, the more they have to buy. Well, they don't want to do that. They want to spread them out as much as possible. And they want to set the temperature levels at an unreasonably high level so that even if a bearing happens to be overheating, it won't be detected by these things, by these instruments between the tracks. Because then If it's detected, they'll have to stop the train, and time is money. Taking that car out and putting it onto a sidetrack, they don't want that. They want profits. Okay. Big agriculture. Okay. Farming practices that might cost a bit more, but sequester more carbon dioxide in the land and long term actually make more money. Fortunately, most of the Northern California dairy farms around here, where the Midnight Skeptic is ranting, they do use techniques researched by the University of California at Davis, the premier ag college in this country, which is just, I don't know, about 50 miles up Highway 80 from here. Free range cattle. If the cattle are allowed to wander the range on their dairy and cattle ranches, they will churn up the dirt, thus sequestering more CO2 and encourage more plant growth and blah, blah, blah. There's a whole lot of benefits to this type of cattle ranching and dairy ranching, okay? Monocultures, like we find back east in Ohio, Iowa, Kansas, Nebraska, all that, they tend to not utilize these agricultural methods, and as such, the land gets ruined quicker. And ultimately, it will cost more, but at the cost of short-term profits. And the corn growers are relying on a certain high percentage of their corn profits to be turned into ethanol. Woe is the politician that suggests lowering the subsidies for ethanol production via corn. Okay. Let's see. I'm kind of riffing. I'm off my notes here. Okay. Onward. Good news. Oh, okay. I've been getting some complaints that I don't have enough good news on these shows. I'm trying, people. Okay, good news. Boyan Slat update. Now, I talked about him on a number of shows even before I came onto YouTube. That was back when I was doing the radio-only show down at KPCA Studios in downtown Petaluma here. I talked about him. He was this Dutch kid, and he was a kid back then. He's 28 now. He invented, well, he started the company Ocean Cleanup, and he put together a tugboat, an ocean-going tugboat, with this huge boom-laden net that scoops up plastic debris out of the Pacific Ocean garbage patch, and collects it on these barges and then brings it back to for the plastic to be recycled. But his first couple of attempts at this either failed or the nets broke apart, or something went wrong. He's in iteration number 3 right now, which seems to be working. Okay, I'm way off my notes. Okay, Boyan Slat update. 10 years ago, Slat from the Netherlands formed Ocean Cleanup. He has deployed his latest system, number 3, with improvements into a number of rivers and bays worldwide to capture plastic before it reaches the ocean, as well as system number 3, the new and improved one, into the Pacific garbage patch. Okay, and keep our fingers crossed. It seems to be working, but it's nowhere going to be enough to get rid of the Pacific garbage patch. The only way we'll ever truly get rid of it is just to stop using as much plastic as we do, which includes nylon fishing nets, plastic containers of this or that, often used by cruise liners for, laundry soap or whatever. Okay. There's 4 other organizations, not just 4, but 4 others that I'm going to mention a bit. 4 other organizations that are involved with cleaning up the oceans. Okay, there's one called 4Ocean, the number 4 Ocean. It's a for-profit company in Boca Raton, Florida. It was founded in 2017. They have employees that scour the beaches and the shallow waters for plastics, pick them out, and turn these things into products. Okay, they're a profit-making company. They sell products made from collected plastic waste on coastlines. They have a website that you can buy little bracelets or whatever. It's other products. Okay. Ocean Conservancy. It's a nonprofit, and it was founded in 1972. It was renamed in 2001 to Ocean Conservancy. It was originally Center for Marine Conservation, and they concentrated on saving particular species of ocean animals, fish and mammals and all of that. Okay, but they expanded their efforts to the entire ocean. Okay, saving marine mammals and other species. Okay, there's another one. Oceana, Oceana. It was founded in 2001, so they're 12 years old. Excuse me, 22 years old. My math is a bit off. Okay, and they're a 501c3, and they do not focus on cleanup or recycling of plastics due to its inefficiency, according to them. They try to lobby legislators to work against single-use plastics. Here, I am all for that. Okay? And they try to encourage responsible fishing. Okay? And they are totally working against offshore drilling. Well, good luck with that, because, I wish them well, but the big oil can afford 100 times more lobbyists than this organization can. You can't, they can't rely on the goodwill of Republicans. No, sir. The Democrats usually vote for environmental improvements, like no more offshore drilling. You'll never get anywhere trying to lobby Republicans about that. They will always vote for corporate profitability. Okay. And then the fourth one I want to mention is the Surfrider Foundation. They're a nonprofit. They were founded in 1984 in Malibu, California, by a group of surfers. What they concentrate on is plastic reduction, ocean protection. Well, that can be almost anything. Beach access. They won a court case down off the coast of San Mateo County, I believe. That's near here. This rich dude tried to fence off beach access, which people have been going down to this beach before he bought it for a long time. And so they won a court case. Now the guy, rich moneybags, has to keep the beach open for public access. Okay. Coast and climate mitigation. And for clean water. Well, that can be almost anything, but I wish them well. The Surfrider Foundation. Okay. Whew. Another sip. All right. Bad Florida DeSantis news. Is there any other kind of news that comes out of Florida nowadays? Ron DeFascist's political stunt creating a voter fraud election police force. When he made the announcement of this voter fraud police force, he was up at his podium in all his glory with these 6 or 7 burly policemen in back of him with their cowboy hats and to convince the public, mainly MAGA heads, that he was tough on voter fraud. And, oh man, that guy has the personality of a wet wash rag. There's no way he's ever going to be nominated on the Republican ticket. Okay, where am I? There was no voter fraud except for a few isolated cases, which included a number of cases in one of these old white retirement communities. I forget what the name of it was. The Villages or something. Anyway, there's no voter fraud that's going to change any election in this country. And these policemen that are voter fraud guys went out and served warrants on 19 guys, or maybe some of them were women, but who were convicted of a felony, but they had been released, they had served their time, and they had even gotten voter ID cards from the Florida State Elections Commission. But they were arrested anyway on some kind of technicality, and they've all been thrown out of court. The only thing that's happened is a few of these guys that were arrested lost their jobs. And their lives just went down the drain from there. This particular guy, Peter Washington of Orlando, was charged with voter fraud because he was a felon, although had served his time and was released. I guess he was on probation currently or something. Washington's attorney noted that Washington had received an official state voter ID from the Florida Registrar of Voters. The case was dismissed, of course, but not until after he lost his job and his wife had to drop out of her college program as studying for a nurse or something. I'm not exactly sure. Okay. New topic. Bad GOP MAGA hypocrisy news. Texas, God. Republican 2nd District Representative Brian Slaton. I think that's how you pronounce it. It's capital S-L-A-T-O-N. Slaton or Slayton. He's resigning after he had a sexual relationship with a 19-year-old intern and furnished her with alcohol. He issued his resignation letter without an apology to the Texas House of Representatives. Slayton has led the charge against grooming of minors in Texas. And Slayton is 45, and he spent more than a year denouncing all ages drag show performances. And this is a quote: "The state has a duty to protect kids from being sexually exploited, and his bill, House Bill 4129, would ban, quote unquote, this disgusting practice in the presence of children," unquote. Slayton has previously blasted an all-ages drag show as a, quote unquote, grooming event. Better yet, this guy used to be a Baptist pastor. He got his Master of Divinity degree from Southwest Baptist Theological Seminary, where no doubt he was groomed by the instructors there or the other pastors there. I'm joking. Okay. Okay, new topic. RWDS GOP bad news. Okay, what's RWDS? Stands for Right-Wing Death Squads. Okay. The Allen, Texas mall mass shooter had neo-Nazi and white supremacist, and may I add, right-wing death squads, RWDS, insignias on him. The GOP MAGA-head Republicans are now, in my mind, and probably should be in your minds as well, a violent threat to our country. The January 6th insurrectionists come to mind. The militias, meaning the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers and all of their ilk, all had RWDS patches on their cosplaying outfits. I hope I'm not being overly fearful, but a relatively large minority of people in this country have been sucked down the right-wing rabbit hole and have swallowed the Fox News Kool-Aid of hate, fear, intolerance, and Christian nationalism. And most are armed with assault rifles and tactical vests. You know, little side commentary. I'm not fearful or angry, and the Midnight Skeptic urges all his thousands and thousands of listeners and YouTube watchers not to be either hateful or especially fearful. As long as you pet your cats and be kind, well, I know that you will be hated by Republicans if you are this way. And you'll be hated by Christians if you are kind and accepting, especially of the LGBTQ community and other liberals and progressives. You will be the person that they will want to wipe off the face of the earth. Okay. Here's some notes I took elsewhere. It's not in my regular notes here. Okay, and Ohio, the state of Ohio, which is rapidly becoming Nazified. They're out, and they were out on April 29th, that's 2 weeks ago, which is a Saturday, in Columbus, Ohio. They were protesting a drag story time in Wadsworth, Ohio. Okay, why did I write down Columbus? I don't know. But anyway, I've talked about these militias playing soldier in their tactical vests and walking around with their assault rifles, stroking the long, hard barrels of them and acting like real men. Okay, so I've talked about them doing this at drag time, story times, which parents bring their kids to because it's a fun experience. Okay, it was at, there's an asterisk. The protest was at the Kaleidoscope Youth Center. Now, kaleidoscope would indicate to me, they called it that because all shapes and sizes and types were welcome. Okay, Republicans don't want that. Okay, there's Ohio bill sponsored by Republicans that would ban gender-affirming care for minors. And it was introduced on April 20th of this year. God, there's so many disjointed notes that I have here on this page. Oh, who is this guy? Ohio Minister asterisk. It's a quote from him. And did I write his name down? Damn, I guess I didn't. And this is out of the Cleveland Scene newspaper, Cleveland, Ohio. Ohio minister said, if you oppose anti-trans bills, you are possessed by Satan's agenda and demons. Oh. And this is a speech this minister gave on the floor of the Ohio State Legislature. This Representative Beth Liston asked, she's a Democrat, was he also calling, quote, our Hindu, Muslims, and Jewish members demons? Well, yes, he was. And that's how these stupid-ass Christian nationalists think. Okay, Pastor Long. Okay, and I'm not sure whether he was an elected representative or he was just invited onto the Ohio legislature floor to talk. Okay, Pastor Long, who is a Republican, I guess he was an elected representative, said, okay, that should you not welcome Jesus Christ as your Savior, you are clearly opening yourself up to the demons of the underworld. And this is a quote from him. Okay, another bit of bad news on that same note. Florida Republican lawmakers will subpoena transgender treatment records from two medical groups, Florida Psychiatric Society, the American Academy of Pediatrics. Okay, those two groups have just got to ignore these subpoenas. Let the Republicans take them to court. It will not hold up. Oh, okay. Now this is a short quote from Republican State Representative Jeff Holcomb, capital Holcomb. He's a Republican of the 53rd District of Florida. This is a quote. Our terrorist enemies, meaning Islamic extremists hate homosexuals more than we do. We've got to ramp up our hate. Okay, the more than we do, that's the end of the quote. I'm just adding on what he was really thinking. Okay. And really, really international bad news from Uganda. Okay, in 2009, and 24 years ago, American evangelical activists traveled to Uganda for an anti-gay conference. They spoke to Ugandan lawmakers, and then subsequently, these lawmakers passed in their legislature what can be described as kill the gays law. Okay, said gays. These American evangelical activists said, gays are coming to Uganda to molest Ugandan children. They're dangerous predators. They held themselves out to be experts on gays and that gays could change via conversion therapy. And one of these guys wrote a book called The Pink Swastika that essentially blamed the Holocaust not on the Nazis, but on Jews. Okay. There's a New York Times article from January 3rd of 2010. It was written by Jeffrey Gettleman. And the title of this piece was American evangelicals' role in Uganda anti-gay push. Okay, well, cut ahead to now. Family Watch International, FWI, which is a totally anti-gay hate group, and they've been called that by the Southern Poverty Legal Center. And they're in Arizona, and this creepy lady, Sharon Slater, Slater, she's the president of FWI, and she went over to Uganda herself to have a tea or something with the First Lady of Ugandan President Museveni. This March, FWI helped organize a conference there in Uganda with a dozen African countries that have anti-gay lawmakers, anti-abortion lawmakers. A new Kill the Gays bill passed in Uganda. It's called the AHA Act, which stands for Anti-Homosexual Act. Uganda President Museveni sent it back to Parliament for revision. Well, what did he want revisioned? He wanted an acknowledgement in the bill that people who voluntarily, quote unquote, renounce homosexuality to be rehabilitated. Well, that was so nice of him. FWI, Family Watch International, was founded in 1999 as a nonprofit. They make plenty of profit from these right-wing billionaires that fund these hate groups. And it was founded to, and this is from her website, to protect the family by working to preserve and promote traditional marriage, safeguard parental rights, defend human life, meaning anti-abortion, and uphold religious liberty. That means they're free to worship the way they want to, but nobody else can. And protect the health and innocence of children. Okay, there's two things about this. Right-wingers love to toss around the word protect. They protect kids, they protect families, they protect white people from the encroachment of minorities. Okay, and innocence. How old do you have to be where far right-wing radicals stop calling you innocent? They fill their speechifying with these terms that they interpret how they want to interpret them. Otherwise they're just meaningless. Okay, real quick, there's a Texas Senate Bill 1396 which mandates a period of prayer and Bible reading in each school day. Christian nationalists and MAGA-head Republicans and militia groups, armed militia groups, are the threat to this country. Okay, real quick, I've got time for this. Okay, a good bit of Skeptic news. When I started out this show, I was a member of the Skeptic community. Well, I still am, but I just haven't, over the last, 4 years since the administration of the orange sociopathic bloat bag, concentrated mostly on skeptical issues and alternative medicine and all of that kind of stuff. Okay, so here is a good bit of skeptic news, and I'm a skeptic. From Quackwatch, which is a part of a Center for Inquiry. Their headquarters are back in upstate New York, near University Amherst, New York. Okay. And this is a little rant about osteopathic doctors, or ODs. Okay. There is limited or no scientific evidence that osteopathy is an effective treatment for conditions unrelated to the bones and muscles, such as asthma, period pain, digestive disorders, and on and on. Osteopathic doctors and medical doctors are legally equivalent, but most states have separate licensing boards. Osteopathic doctor schools place more emphasis than medical schools do on musculoskeletal problems, but otherwise their teachings are quite similar. But ODs have 400 extra hours of additional training in musculoskeletal manipulation by using their hands. What ODs like to do is really get to the root of the problem. I'm taking this right off their website. A majority of problems are complicated by things going on in the spine and the nervous system. They try to help the body heal itself. Are we hearing about subluxations? Hello, chiropractic. Okay, and this whole osteopathic medicine is an ideology created by this guy, Andrew Taylor Still, in 1874. He was born, I think, in 1828 or 29, and he joined the Union Army and was a battlefield surgeon / doctor. Okay, and he was a frontier doctor after the Civil War. And in 1874, he came up with osteopathic medicine after studying patients. Okay. He went for less than a year, to the New College of Physicians and Surgeons in Kansas City, Missouri. And that was his only formal medical training. Oh boy, gotta hurry up. Good news from the Center of Inquiry's Office of Public Policy legal arm. Nicholas Little, in addition to suing Walmart, CVS, and Amazon over homeopathic fake medicine marketing, is alerting skeptics to all the Texas bills that shove Christianity down our throats. And I've talked a little bit about some of these bills. There's a little good news into this, but I've got to play my out music. You have been listening to The Midnight Skeptic on KPCA LP, Petaluma, California. And we're at 103.3 on the FM dial and worldwide at www.kpca.fm. Support community radio at patreon.com/Petaluma Community Access. And remember, think critically, think logically, but live joyously, and most importantly, pet your cats. Okay, I can't emphasize this enough, how important it is to pet your cats. No stress, no fears, no anger. Cats will help with that. Plus a little bit of wine sipping. It never hurts. Okay. The next show will, the radio portion of it will be on the 21st of May at the usual time. But I'm going to get the YouTube thing, which you're looking at right now, downloaded as soon as I get off the air here. Okay, so I should really use my sound effects more than I do. Okay, that's it for another week. See you then.